Hello, folks. Welcome to another edition of Social Media News Live. I'm so excited you're here. This is a really cool, and it's actually a very timely subject. And I was going to ask Ryan, and we had to go live, but Ryan is back on the show. If you guys missed his previous episode, you need to go check that out because he is super smart when it comes to all things video. And he's one I turn to when I have questions about this. But one of the things I was going to ask, are you guys getting the new iPhone? It's coming today. Are you getting is it there yet, Ryan?
It's actually said between right now and I think 2 hours from now it should land at the Verizon store. So
yes. So you're gonna go up there. Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Connor? What about you? You gonna get the?
No, I'm on the off cycle. I'm kind of a loser, so I just upgraded, of course, before this one came out, and I'm just kind of in this cycle of I get it new, and then they immediately announce another one.
So I'm getting the I have the 14. I usually kind of do every other one, but I keep them because right above here is I use it for my overhead cam at an old 13 because it's a good camera for that kind of stuff. And so people forget. I was talking with Jim Fuse this morning how good the cameras are on this thing, and I'm sure we'll get into that on the show today. But we've got some of our friends already in the house. We've got Katie Simpson saying hello. So she's here. Well, why did I get so small? Katie, you deserve bigger than that, so we're going to bring you up just like that. There you go, Katie. And the cool thing is, I know Katie signed up, but there's a thing that I'm doing. I think this is the first time I've announced it, is I'm doing a thing called the Entrepreneurs Traveling Circus. And you can find out more at jeffc.com/ET Circus. And my first one is with my friend Ian Anderson Gray in Manchester on October 30th. And we're doing an event there talking about AI and repurposing. And Katie Simpson has signed up, and she's going to be one of our people there at the conference. So if you'd like to learn more, go to jeffc.com/ET Circus. So I'm really excited. I want to do some more. We're looking at one in Nashville coming up next year, and so a couple other places across the country. So keep up to date with that link, and I'll try to let you know when we're coming to a town near you. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and hit go because I've got so much to talk to Ryan about. So hang on. We'll get started. You ready, Connor?
I'm ready.
All right. That's the most important thing, by the way, is you being ready. All right, here we go. Hello, folks. Welcome to Social Media News Live. I'm Jeff C., and you're not.
And I'm Connor Brown, and this is the show that keeps you up to date on what's happening in the world of social media and more.
Have you ever wondered how to create videos that truly connect with your audience, even without expensive gear? Or maybe you're eager to discover how to make professional, impactful videos using only your smartphone. If that sounds familiar, then you are in the right place, my friend. This week, we're thrilled to have Ryan Koral back on the show, the expert behind TellStudios, sharing his journey from filmmaker to video marketing strategist. He's going to be unpacking his tips for smartphone filmmaking and how AI is reshaping the way we create content. So sit back, clear your schedule, clear your mind, and get ready for this week's episode of Social Media News Live. Ryan, how are you doing today, my friend? It's so good to see you.
So good to see you. I'm doing amazing. I'm glad to be back. This is going to be really fun. I told you I'm a little bit nervous because I said, hey, let's feed this to my Facebook profile too, and just see who of my friends are going to hassle me for showing up in their feed.
Yeah, the more friends that hassle Ryan, the better. That's right.
Well, for those Facebook friends who don't show up, who already know Ryan, if you don't know Ryan, you should, because he is the founder of TellStudios, which blends documentary filmmaking with strategic video marketing to create content that resonates and drives action. He collaborates with iconic brands, prestigious institutions, and thought leaders to craft emotionally engaging video experiences. Ryan's work showcases the power of authentic storytelling in the digital world, and he's also a great speaker. He speaks on video strategy, brand storytelling, and fostering meaningful connections in the digital age. Ryan, thanks so much again for being here today.
Oh man,
I know.
Thank you for having
me.
Google,
your friends are watching. We've got to make it sound really, really good.
Yeah.
So
they're like, are we talking about the same guy here?
So before we get started, I want to really thank the sponsor of the show, our friends over at Ecamm. Listen, there's been a lot of talk in the video streaming genre lately about prices going up on some other platforms. There's like a big price hike. Things are happening. There's been acquisitions. But I tell you what, Ecamm is still very, very reasonable. And if you go to ecamm.com/Jeff, use the code Jeff15, you'll save 15% off your first purchase. So get that pro plan, get that year-long pro plan, and use that discount. But their community is so good. Connor and I are getting ready to go to Creator Camp in October, so it's just going to be amazing. But ecamm.com/Jeff. Thank you so much for Ecamm for sponsoring the show. They are an amazing group. And before we jump into the content, man, we've got so many great people showing up today. We've got my friend Ralph showing up from Ask Ralph Christian Finance. He's saying, good morning, everyone. Gary says, Gary, too, from Michigan, standing by, watching on my laptop. And I have my Pixel 9 Pro in my hand for mastery to come. Look at that. Hopefully we'll have some. And friend Chris Stone is saying, you Apple slappies. You know, I thought you were an iPhone guy, but maybe not, Chris. Ask Ralph. He says, mine is on order. It should be here very soon. People waiting for the iPhone 16. He's also from Michigan originally, so he's a big fan of Ryan. And yeah, Katie, we're going to meet together in Manchester at the Traveling Circus with my friend Ian Anderson Gray, so it's going to be amazing. And just so many great people showing up. So we're going to go ahead and get started because this is all about the phone video mastery. Ryan's got a brand new stinking academy on the film. It's called the Smartphone Film Academy, and we're going to be talking about that to start off. But this is a thing I want to kick off with, Ryan, because, you know, it's like when Canva came out, they kind of got up in a tizzy that, you know, this tool is going to take away our business. You're a filmmaker. I mean, you've done documentary filmmaking, like you're hardcore video, red cameras, all the cool gear, and now it's easier than ever. I remember back in the day, I remember when I got my first hard drive, it was like 380 megabytes, and it was a big brick, and I was like, this thing, I don't need any more space ever, right?
Yeah.
And now as stuff has happened, it's gotten cheaper and easier for people to create video content. And I know a lot of filmmakers, it's kind of like, this is my craft. Like, I learned how to do all this stuff, and now people are just shooting content in video and getting thousands of views. How do you feel about this? I mean, you create this academy, I know, to teach people, but it is for a lot of people in your shoes. It's kind of hard to embrace this. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, my feelings on this. I mean, it's funny because 20 years running a video production business, so much has changed. I mean, it's insane. Like, to think the first couple of years, the size of the cameras that we had and the size of the hard drives and like the physical size of the hard drive, just all of that stuff. And, you know, at one point I had a vest, I had this Steadicam thing and a, big camera, and, and it was heavy and bulky and all this stuff, and I don't have it over here, but like the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, this thing is like, it fits in your hand, and it does the same exact thing that this big massive rig that I had, super good and low light, all this stuff, and it's so stinking affordable.
Right.
So every 3 to 5 years, when the DSLR revolution happened, and then mirrorless cameras came out, and then smartphones started adding video feature, there's been, I think, you ask how I have felt. Really, I think personally just a little bit annoyed, because when I first started, I was the only one, like, in our circle that was making videos. Nobody else had the time, the energy, the ability, and now everybody does. And I just remember when the shift started happening, mostly with phones, that I just kind of fell out of love with, like, this isn't unique anymore. Like, everybody's doing this. So from like a personal perspective, that's kind of how I felt for a long time. I've since shifted, and I don't feel as annoyed anymore. I'm glad that more people are creating, because it's really fun to create. From a business perspective, I mean, the circles of filmmakers that I'm in, you've got the complainers, and then you've got the adapters. I tend to like gravitate more toward the adapters, but people like, oh, we're going to be out of business and all these things, and AI, add that into the mix of all the things. And there are a lot more challenges today, but there have always been challenges when it comes to doing this craft. So it's really like, okay, if you really want to do it, if you feel like this is a a calling, then you're going to figure it out. And that's kind of where I'm at today, where, you know, to launch something like the Smartphone Film Academy really came out of a place of like, most of my friends can't hire our video production company. I can't hire, like I can't afford the kind of videos that we do. And so that's been so frustrating for so long. Like if I'm in a group of friends, I rarely ever talk about, I'm never pitching my friends. I might give them a hard time, like, hey, why don't you have video? But I just, it's not comfortable at all for me. And finally, you know, I've just realized that the smartphone is here, and it's here to stay. And the improvements that, you know, keep coming out with the cameras and low light capabilities and being able to stabilize some of your terribly shaky footage and all of those things, it's like, what people are going to be creating content regardless of whether or not I'm helping them. And what I would like to do is I would like to help more people. And so I know not everybody's going to be able to hire our production company. I want to help. I started this business 20 years ago because I believed in the power of story, and I wanted to help tell people stories because they weren't telling them. They didn't think they were important or whatever. And so fast forward all these years later, I'm like, can I do both? Can we still do these high productions for businesses and brands that believe in something like just a beautiful brand story? Can I do that? And at the same time, can I also be equipping people with better knowledge, better techniques to create more engaging content for whatever messages it is that they have, really to, I think, impact the world. That's what my hope is. And I really believe that video can do that. So, yeah, that's kind of why we're doing this academy.
Cool. Very cool.
I love that. I love that. I know you talked about some things like the Osmo Pocket 3. I have that. It's so much fun to use, you know, but
oh man,
even then you only get to that point by doing a little bit of video before, right? Where you're like, I have my smartphone. I've used it a lot. I kind of want a little bit more or something else. Or you're just curious. Like so many people here who watch every single week are curious. We're adopters. We always want to learn new stuff. But still, for some, you know, the smartphone is where you start, and you can still be intimidated by that because there's so many different things, whether it's apps or settings or low light or thinking about the light just in general. So Ryan, you know, how can small businesses today take their smartphone video and leverage it and compete with big brands that have these huge production budgets? And I'd also like to say, you know, how can what you created with the Smartphone Film Academy help those entrepreneurs and small businesses with that?
Yeah, it's I mean, that's a good question, because I think there's so many smaller businesses that look at their competition or the people that are one or two steps ahead of them. And if you're anything like me, I mean, I've experienced so much imposter syndrome over the last 20 years in running a business. And there's so many friends that I have that are incredible filmmakers, and their production spaces are just amazing, and everything that they do, you know, Emmy award winning, all these things. And that has, I think, in different seasons of my life, has frozen me and just gotten to where I'm like, I'm not going to share this because this is not nearly as good as their stuff, or I'm not going to launch this thing because it's like they've already got something like that, and why would I do that? And it makes me think of like YouTube channels. Like I talk to so many people that are talking about whether it's a YouTube channel or a podcast, and we're like, wow, like I don't want to just add noise to the space. And I always just think like, I try to come back to this and kind of like overcoming imposter syndrome. What is your drive, and like what's your message, and what do you like, if you had a podcast or a YouTube channel, like what is the thing that you're trying to communicate? Is that important? And if so, like it's your duty and it's your responsibility to share that thing, regardless of who else is out there doing it. Because at the end of the day, there are some people that are more comfortable hiring a big company, maybe paying more money because it's a big company. And then there are plenty of people that would trust and enjoy working with a solopreneur or a smaller business. There's just, you know, you go into the library or bookstore, there's like 8 bazillion books on business. There's not just one, like how to run a business. It's like, and so many people regurgitate, but it's like, your perspective, your story, like that's the thing that makes you so unique and so different. Even if the thing at the end of the day, you're just providing video services, the way that you do it and the way and the reason why you do it and your nuances, all of those things added up is your brand. And people want to work with people that they connect with. I don't want to work with the brand. I want to feel, if I'm going to work with the big brand, I want to feel some kind of a connection with that big brand. But if it's just, they're just the biggest name and that's what I'm like, I don't like, who else is out there?
Right.
As soon as you like tap into my heart and my emotion, then I'm kind of like, oh, okay. Maybe we should work together. So I would just encourage anybody that's feeling hesitant of like, why would I start in, posting on Instagram and sharing my perspective on diet or exercise or, business or whatever. And it's because you're the only one with your perspective. You're the only one with your experiences. And for somebody else out there, they need to hear that perspective from you. So I don't know. I get a little fired up about it.
And we wanted to talk about like video storytelling, and I think that's one of the key things, and one of the things that I know you're passionate about. When we're talking about the Smartphone Film Academy, I want to ask, like, what are some of the most common mistakes people make when shooting videos with their phones, and how are you specifically going to address that inside of your academy? Because I know you, as a filmmaker, I know you're going, I can't believe they're doing that. And like the stuff that you're going to teach, like, hey, you might want to not wrap your hand around your phone and this is my wife, by the way, and put your finger over the lens. That's one of the things, kind of beginner tip. But what are some other things? Like, what are mistakes you see, and what you're teaching to overcome that? Like, give us some of your top ones.
Yeah. And these are a result of a lot of frustrations for me. One that's like really basic is I Marco Polo friends, and there's this small group of guys, and one of the guys usually has a smudge on his camera lens, and you can't really see it. We carry these phones around and there's smudges all over, but you don't realize that if you have a smudge on the little teeny tiny lens at the very top there, your image just comes out like, it's just like the quality is lower and it just doesn't look good. So something real easy to do is just take your shirt and wipe any smudges off before you hit record on your camera. Or if you're taking photo, remember there's lenses sometimes on the back and the front. So think about where you're taking them. I think eye contact, when I think about successful videos, I'm all about connecting emotionally. I think if you're not connecting emotionally, you're not creating empathy with what you're creating. How many times can I say that in a sentence? And so I think there are subtle things that we do that can help the people watching the videos feel more connected to us. And one super easy, very simple thing to do is to look at the camera lens. It's really hard because we all like looking at, well, I shouldn't say we all like looking at each other, or ourselves, but that's typically what we do. We hold up our phone and we look at the screen where we're showing up just to make sure that we're in the frame, which is actually a smart thing to do. Make sure that you're in the frame. Yeah, that's great. But the problem is when our eyes are looking at the screen, they're just a little bit down. So imagine having a conversation with somebody and the whole time you feel like they're looking at your forehead or you feel like they're looking at your nose. Is that comfortable?
Right.
No.
Right.
So my encouragement is like, look at yourself, make sure you're in the right frame. And then like, as soon as you can, look at that invisible. If you look at your phone when it's off, you can probably see the little tiny fleck that is the lens of the camera, but try to look there when you're creating something that is meant to be, felt like you're actually looking at the person that you're talking to. So very subtle, very easy to do. I think another thing that drives me crazy, two other quick things that drive me crazy. One is where people feel like, oh, I've heard that you need light in your videos, and sunlight makes people look really good. So like, let me sit in front of this big window in the middle of the day, because there's so much light that's coming through, and that's the worst. Well, no, it's not the worst thing you could do, but when you put that window behind you,
Right.
your poor camera is trying to adjust. If you're on auto, your camera is trying to adjust. It sees all this light and it's like, okay, I can't, like, that's too bright, so let me make that darker. Well, if you don't have a bright light on your face, then you become super dark, and it's just so distracting. It's so ugly when the shot is composed like that. Best thing you could do is, like, turn and use the light from that window to be soft light on your face. I mean, people want to, you're making these videos, people are going to connect with your face, and if they can't see it, it's hard to connect with your face. And then I think just another thing, people, because cameras, video, it's all visual, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not. Like, if you have bad audio, people are going to be more likely to drop out. People are more likely to forgive bad looking video quality. People are going to be willing to forgive, except for me, a super bright window, bright light behind you, than if your audio is crackly, or it's really quiet, or it's just like, what are they?
Right.
Are they using a mic from 1900 or something like that?
Right.
So fortunately, the microphones on these devices today they're really good, but you just have to be conscious of, like, where are you filming this? Like, what's the environment? What's happening? Is your spouse yelling at the kids normally, or is it literally like, it's just you're in the car, you're like, hey, I'm in this. I love creating videos in the car. Sunroof's open, windows are down, and it's like. Yeah, so anyway, I got 3 tips to share. And it's like, wait, what? Okay, like, I'm moving on to the next thing. This is too annoying to try to decipher what's being said here.
So really fun.
Yeah.
I want to pull up Chris Stone's thing, and he says, lots of poor cameras in my world every week as a remote producer. So a lot of them look like they're in the witness protection program. Well, Ryan talked about the best lighting. That is the best lighting for me, that I look like in, one of those guys where it's in the dark. I have a face for Photoshop. So the other thing is, I used to actually go, and when I first started, because that eye contact with the camera is so important. Now I look down and I'm pushing buttons and stuff, but for the most part, I put a sticky note, which would point to my webcam when I first started. Like, I had for years on my monitor, like, pointing up to, like, look at the cameras, which is huge. It's a little harder on the phone because we hold it close. And we do like to look at ourselves because we're naturally drawn to look at our own eyes. But teaching yourself to look up there, I think, is really, really key. Yeah. Good stuff.
I mean, when you look like Jeff C, is it really that hard to not want to look at yourself? And
I know,
it is.
right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Constantly. The beard just draws you in. I love all of those tips. I think they're all so important. But Ryan, I know you probably have experienced this thing of so many people saying, oh, well, I just need to get the latest tech and then I'll actually be good at creating content, right? Whatever that might be. And, Gary is even joking about it in the chat. He says, I'm thinking a new iPhone would make me a better storyteller. What do you think? Of course, he goes on to say, LOL, he's joking. It's not real. But a lot of the times it is, right? We think, oh, I'm going to get the new iPhone and then everyone's going to love my content, because that's what was holding me back. But we know it's so much more than that. It's how you're creating the content and what's the story behind the content beyond just what smartphone do you have to create that. So can you kind of walk us through a basic framework, you would say, for creating that kind of impactful and really story-centric content with just using a smartphone? What do you need to do for that?
Yeah, well, I'll speak to that first thought that I think was meant to kind of be funny, but for me, like, this idea of imposter syndrome, you come up with all these excuses, and it's like, oh yeah, I want to launch this thing, but I'm going to wait until I get my logo, or you know what, I'm going to wait until I get my new camera, or the new lens, or I need better lighting. And my best advice is, you don't learn until you launch, and you can't start making an impact until you make one video, and you can't improve on your video until you actually have one that people can look at and comment, and you've actually had the guts to post it. So my encouragement is just to start and know that your first video, it's going to suck. It's going to be so bad. And your second one and your third one, but you're going to improve. And people are going to comment on your terrible audio. And so then it's like, okay, I need to do something. Or they're going to comment on that, man, that light is so bright behind you. Why don't you use the light to your advantage? But you'll never know until you actually do the thing. So for anybody that is like thinking like, okay, finally the iPhone has everything that it needs for me to, have the confidence. It's like, no. That's not where your confidence actually, that's probably an excuse. And my encouragement is just to start making videos and put them out there so that you start helping people and then improve along the way.
Yeah.
I created. Oh, go ahead.
You go ahead. You said you created. You go.
Interrupting me.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to transition. I'm going to talk about the framework.
Well, so
ready for that, or?
Let me. Well, yeah. Go ahead and talk about the framework, and then I'm going to bring up Ellie's question.
Okay. All right. So TellStudios is the name of my production company, and we got really smart and said, okay, can we come up with, I think is it an acronym? It's a 4-part framework that typically, whether it's a social media video, if it's a brand video, if it's content that we want people to watch and we want them to do something afterward, the framework that we use is the TELL framework. And the letter T stands for transition. And this is really like, people aren't waking up in the morning wanting to see what is the next video that I'm going to put out. I know it might be news to you guys, but that's just the way.
That's me, Ryan. I do that.
Yeah. Well, besides you. So getting people's attention, like creating a hook, having some kind of transition hook so that you do get somebody to say like, oh, get them to stop and be like, okay, this is interesting. Whether that could be a question, it could be just something like way out of the ordinary, something that is going to get people out of, mindless scrolling, or I'm just the most important thing about my day right now is that I find something to eat, right? So there has to be something that intrigues people, that gets them to lean in. The E stands for emotion. And if you can share from here and be real and be authentic and not feel like, okay, like it's time for me to shoot a video, so it's time for me to sound like I've got everything together, that everything looks perfect and okay, we're ready to roll. If you're not talking from your heart and relating to people, then your message is going to fall short. Like, people aren't going to care. They're, the whole know, like, and trust. If you can get people to know who you are, they're going to like you, they're going to trust you. And if you're trying to do business, like you have those 3 things combined, people are going to be more likely to hire you. And the way that you build trust and connection and get people like you is you be real and you share some stuff that's not working, or how you failed and how you've overcome, or how you're overcoming. Not that you've figured it all out, but sharing real stories, your own stories, not just other people's stories, but being vulnerable. I think creates this amazing opportunity to connect with your ideal audience. The first L is for leverage. And this is like, data, facts, social proof, anything that can help the story along. So it's like, yeah, here's your perspective and here's what this means, or here's what data says. Anything to help reinforce the emotional story or connection that you're trying to create will help. And then the last L is lead. Every video that you shoot, you should start with the end in mind and think through, okay, why are we doing this video? What do we want? What is the call to action? What do we want people to think, feel, or do at the end of this video? And so you might have somebody go to your website and download something for free, or go watch this video, or go call this phone number, or send me an email. It might literally be like, go do this thing. But it also might just be like, I want people to feel me. Like I want them to feel more connected to me. I want them to know that I am human like them and I struggle like them. And so I just want them to feel a certain way. Or you may challenge a certain thought like, hey, only people with iPhones should be making videos out there, because the other options, it's garbage or whatever.
Right.
So,
we're going to get hate mail for that, but go ahead.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, that's the framework. And I think if you're creating content that you're hoping draws people in and gets them to think, feel, or do something different, that's the framework that we recommend.
Yeah. So don't forget to I mean, I've been bringing up Ryan's Film Academy, so make sure you guys go sign up for that. I think there's a wait list. Is that what it is right now? So if you go to TellStudios.com.
Currently wait list.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the course is it is not complete. I've run cohorts in the past, so a small group of people, and that's what I'm going to launch again here shortly. And then we're building out the course as people are saying like, hey, I want to know how to do this, this, and this. I mean, I've got like a mile long list of things that I think people should do. But I really want to know, what is your biggest struggle, frustration, whatever with your smartphone, and let's make lessons that are appropriate for that. And the cohort's great because it gives people an opportunity to say like, here's what my videos look like right now if I'm doing video, or I'm not doing video yet because, I've been afraid, or I don't have any framework or anything like that. So for me to be able to give people feedback on what they're doing, that has actually, I've been a little bit surprised, but that's been people's favorite part of like, oh gosh, I didn't realize that, the way that my room is set up or where I'm doing this or how I'm doing this, if I made one or two little tweaks, it's going to connect a lot better with our audience. So yeah, the cohort's really fun because it's more interactive and live feedback.
Yeah, I love
the course and the cohort.
Yeah, I love doing those cohorts. So speaking of cohorts and asking questions, we've got actually some great questions from our audience. Ellie says, how do you deal with your imposter syndrome? You talked about this before. I think Ian Anderson Gray and I have talked about this before. Something I think every creator, if they're honest with themselves, struggle with at one point or another. At least the honest ones do. So how do you deal with your imposter syndrome, Ryan?
I love this question, seriously, because it's like, when you do the work on yourself, and you're working through it or you're overcoming it, man, there's like no better feeling. And I'm a pretty confident person, but when it has come to the craft of filmmaking and storytelling, I've surrounded myself with incredibly talented people, and I'm in a space where I'm educating those people. And even doing that, I'm like, do I have what it takes? Like, I don't know.
Right.
My stuff doesn't look that good, but it's like, that doesn't matter. So how I have overcome it, I have shared this with so many people, so many circles of friends that I know have my best interests in mind. And I've been in mastermind groups before where I've just shared like, guys, I've been wanting to launch this YouTube channel for so long. I've been wanting to launch literally this Smartphone Film Academy. I've hesitated doing this because there are other things out there that are really good. And I'm like, why should I even do this? Because they're I bought this one and these are pretty good, but like, nobody has my perspective. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been my like EQ is like my empathy for people, it's pretty high. It's different than somebody else's. And I'm finally like, man, these are my mini superpowers, and added up, like this is a very unique and different way in a different approach than this person. And that's not to say that it's not worth buying their Smartphone Film Academy and doing their thing. Maybe you get both and you get completely different perspectives. So to answer the question, being vulnerable and sharing with groups of people, close friends, mastermind groups, and just saying like, I'm trying to figure this out. I can't, and having people just speak life and truth. And that's, I think at the end of the day, like what's actually true. And imposter syndrome is typically, usually always, it's not true. It's not even close to true. So I think that's just being open and sharing that with trusted group of friends has been just it has helped me immensely.
Well, preach, brother, because I mean that's what's helped me so much too. Is like Connor and I are in a mastermind together. A lot of those guys are in the actually chat today. So yeah, it makes a huge difference. Like I'm doing a training for Social Media Examiner in October, and I actually ran through my training last night with my mastermind because I wanted like their opinions because I trust all those guys. They're not going to sugarcoat stuff that I screw up on, and they'll help me be better. And that's what's really I think key. So you can preach all you want about that because I think that's really true, and more people need to hear that message. We've got some more great comments, and I love pulling up comments from the audience because they ask such great questions. So another one from Ellie says, what is the best color to wear when recording? Is there one, like maybe on Zoom? Does it matter? What do you tell people? Like, I know you get it, like when you show up for photo shoots, like what should I be wearing? What do you need from me on camera? So what's a practical thing to tell Ellie there?
Zebra patterns.
That's right.
Always
that's perfect. No.
Yeah. The tight patterns are just they're not good. What happens? I think the word is moire.
Yeah.
It's spelled. Don't ask me to spell it or smell it. But like it's just like you start moving and like all this like crazy kind of stuff happens because the digital artifacting and whatever. So tight patterns, I don't recommend. When creating content, like I don't want, for me and my brand, I don't want what I wear to be the thing that stands out. Now, granted, like people are gonna, judge me however they are, or however they will, or whatever. So my suggestion is like solid colors that complement your skin tone. So if I was wearing a shirt that was like, similar in skin tone to my face, that's not good. Like you don't want that. Also, consider your background. If you're shooting in like a cool studio like ours that has this big white cyc wall and you're wearing a white shirt, that's not going to be great either. If you're wearing something dark and you have a dark background, the thing that I have going here, I have what's called a hair light behind me that's creating this. Actually, I can do this. Oh, look how fancy I get. Okay, so you can see a little outline of me. If I didn't have that light back there, I would kind of be blending into the background. So if I was wearing a black shirt and no hair light, I would really be blending in the back. So consider your background. And then I would say just make sure that what you're wearing is a good representation of your personality. I think there are a lot of people that think like, oh, if you're going to do a brand shoot, it's like, okay, I got to go shopping and get a new outfit. But if the outfit that you buy isn't what people would normally see you wearing in normal work situations, don't get it. Like a friend of mine, he used to wear a sport coat and he got all these photos done and then he used them for years and always was just kicking himself because he's like, I never wear a sport coat or one of those.
Right.
I never wear sport coats. Like, why would I think that, I look like business casual or whatever, and that's just not my personality. So just think about your the personality of you, as the brand and make sure that what you're wearing aligns with that.
Yeah. So Connor, you're going to have to get your headshots redone and put on your velvet leisure suit. So that's going to be important because we don't know you like if we see you in real life like you usually wear.
We actually call that a South Philly tuxedo. That's what I believe it is.
Nice. Oh, I have one other tip.
Sure.
A lot of people, when we interview them, they're like, oh, should I wear my glasses, not wear my glasses? It's a great question. In this case, like if I've got like some professional lighting right here, if I was wearing my glasses and this light was a little bit lower, you'd be able to see the reflection of the light in your glasses. Yeah. Terrible, like so annoying because again, we're about connection. And if people can't see your eyeballs, then you're not connecting with them. So the best way, if you have a light that you're actually using, if you're using a ring light, this is actually a good example of like where like people can see the ring light. I just don't like that. I don't prefer that. It feels like, part of a production, and I would rather it not feel like that. So I want it to feel as natural as possible. So what you can do is raise your light up higher and higher, and then tilt it, like put it on an angle, and that should get rid of it. If it doesn't, then consider removing your glasses. But I always ask people when they're like, should I wear glasses or no glasses? I'm like, well, how do people know you? Like, do you always wear glasses or just sometimes? And if sometimes, then like, and it's not a big deal and you don't have big red marks on your nose, then like just get rid of the glasses.
That's a great point. Good point.
I see that all the time too when people have glasses on, and it's the only thing I can focus on, probably because I wear glasses and contacts, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's all I can see. I use glasses as a point of emphasis, like, interesting. That's
where they don't even have lenses.
I should start doing that. That's good.
Yeah. Abby has another thing. It's great. We're talking about, style and brand, and much like Jeff C's brand is bowling shirts, no doubt about that. But Abby's talking about any thoughts or tips on finding a unique style or voice to tell your stories through video instead of just trying to check off all the boxes, right? Like, you got to do this, you got to do that. How do you find your style?
That is a great question, and you should never do videos because you've seen it work for somebody else. You have to be comfortable as you. And what's your story? And what is your why? Why do you do this work? Why do you care about it? What is like an ideal transformation of somebody that you would work with? Think in those lenses and be able to answer those questions. And that's how you should show up. I mean, be as authentic as you can. Don't have two personalities. I might have sometimes I'm talking a little bit more like, I'm being interviewed, or, if I was shooting a YouTube video, hey guys, like, welcome. I mean, I kind of do talk like that, but I'm maybe overemphasizing a little bit. And when I can think about it, I'm like, I got to reel back and just be like, hey guys, what's up? Super excited to be here today. And that's my style. Can you throw that question up one more time? I just want to make sure that I'm not missing a part of it.
Yeah. So here it is, right here. Unique style, voice to tell your stories through video instead of trying just to check off the boxes of what makes a good video or what's working for other people.
Yeah. So I think just having a framework can be helpful because your voice is unique. You don't have to find like, what's my voice? Maybe like you need to think about what are the things that I want to talk about when I'm online, and what are the things that I don't want to talk about? What are the things that really make you come alive and get you excited? And what are the things that you could talk about endlessly? And if you have a framework that says, okay, like I want to shoot a 1 or 2 minute video or 5 minute video, whatever. If I have a framework, then I'll use this framework. So it's not changing your personality. It's just like packaging what you're saying in a way that people can absorb it and actually do something with it, versus like, okay, I just heard, Ryan talk for 5 minutes, but what was the point of that? So if you have a framework, hopefully that framework, like the Tell framework, the last part in there is like the call to action. Like, what do you want people to think, feel, or do? So the whole time I'm making my outline or just showing up, I've got direction for how am I going to land the plane?
Oh, that's good. Yeah. This is a great question. And before we move on to the next section, I'd love to know I think I know what your opinion is, but Gary has this controversial question. What are your thoughts on pig mic in frame, a la like right here and what Connor's got? So what are your thoughts on that?
Here's my thought is I've gone to this new arm that's out of frame and actually sounds probably much better than my shotgun microphone.
Yeah, it does.
So my opinion is like, if I was shooting a podcast, I'd be here. If I'm doing a YouTube style kind of video, I just don't want that microphone in shot. It can feel like, oh, cool, like he's professional because he has a profession. Yeah, if you're gonna have your mic in shot because you think it looks cool, make sure that it's actually a good microphone. Don't just think like, well, just because I have works. One, I'm a podcaster now. Yeah. So yeah, I think my issue is when it gets in the way of a person's face. Drives me crazy. Those 2-person podcast interviews, and then they've got the microphones in front of, and so your angle is like, you're like, if they could just move that down a little bit, that like drives me nuts. Just put the mics on the other side of the faces so that
I get it.
Yeah. I can hear you breathing. That's great. So you know what?
Yeah.
And I think it's a personal preference. I don't mind it in here because I try to keep it off to the side. I think the sounding better because I multi-purpose and repurpose everything. It's, my thing is I don't like having the big Mickey Mouse ears. I don't like it. I'm like, use like monitors like I'm wearing and like Connor's got. And like I mean, I know it makes you see, like back when it first started having the big cans on your head. I think that was like, I'm a podcaster. I'm like doing this my own radio booth. But now I'm like, I don't need to see the Mickey Mouse ears really. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah, less distractions, the better in my mind.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to this next question. I mean, we could talk this whole time on one point, but it's been so good. I love taking the questions from people. But I want to talk real quick about AI and video marketing because it's changing everything. Everything's like you and I started on, when I first started doing video editing, Ryan, it was non-linear editing system. Like everybody was moving off of Avids into like, non-linear editing systems like Adobe Premiere. That was great. Now it's going like we use Descript for everything. Like it's text-based editing. AI is baked into all that stuff. Adobe's doing that same sort of thing. So how do you see AI transforming video marketing like in this near future? Like what are you seeing coming down the pike for video content creators? One that excites you and maybe something that scares you?
I don't know. I mean, I think the only thing that scares me, if that's the right word, is just like all the stuff that's not real, and people don't know that it's not real. It's just it's annoying, it's frustrating, and it's frustrating to think that people will use that to leverage, for their own good, for their own benefit or profit or whatever. So that kind of just is super frustrating. There's a huge opportunity to make more cooler stuff. I mean, I didn't see the thumbnail of this, our episode today until I think this morning. And I think Abby, my assistant, was like, "You look like Indiana Jones." I'm like, "Yeah, all right. I'll go with that. Just minus the hat."
Yeah.
So I think there's, with Sora and Runway and all of these cool apps, it's really fun. The story that I keep sharing is Tyler Perry, probably 6 or 8 months ago, was going to make this massive, almost $1 billion studio in Atlanta. And then OpenAI's Sora, the text to video AI thing came out, and we got to start seeing what it could do. And he canceled the entire production building of these studios,
right?
Because he's like, it's insane what we're going to be able to do when this is just like version 1.0 of
this
it.
is the worst it's going to be.
Get better.
This is the worst it's going to be. Yeah.
So I think the opportunity that we all have and that we should all be considering is You Are the Brand. It's my friend Mike Kim's book. Super good book, but thinking through, depending on if you're an entrepreneur, solopreneur, whatever it is that you're doing, you have a brand, and that's what I'm doubling down on and investing in is me. And AI cannot replace me. It can sound like me. It can maybe even feel a little bit like me, but it's not going to be me. And at some point, we're just going to get tired of missing real connection. I think from just like a soulful feeling of like, there's just something that in AI, no matter how much it sounds like a human, it doesn't have a soul. And so I think we can sense that in a weird, metaphysical way or whatever. And so I think creating video content that is real and authentic and vulnerable and has emotion, and has, desires and all that stuff. I think that is going to always be the difference maker. And we're going to get closer to getting where people are just longing for that, because so much of everything that we're going to see and experience is not real. So those are, I guess, just some off-the-cuff thoughts.
Totally agree. Because I think companies are going to reach out more and more to podcasting and live video, because AI can't bring up great comments stuff that Chris is putting out there, the people who show up every week that we can answer their questions live. I mean, AI eventually will get to where they'll be able to do some real-time stuff, but there's jokes that we have every week that we know, like whenever we mention Google Plus, Chris Stone takes a drink. I mean, that's just, I mean, AI can't make that stuff up, and there's insider jokes and the things that makes you real. So I totally agree. And I think that's the opportunity, like to show up live or as a podcast that can't be replicated. I think that's a huge opportunity. I think you're totally right about that.
Yeah, but we talk about AI helping us with a lot of things beyond just the recording, right? The having the conversation, whether it's helping with the brainstorming of things, whether it's helping with the process side of things to just streamline or really help consolidate things. So Ryan, have you like integrated AI in any ways in some recent productions that you've done, and how have you seen that impact either the final product or just the process overall if you've done it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're using ChatGPT. I'm using Claude. I started using Claude just a couple of months ago now that they have this projects feature, which is so cool. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to I'm just trying to get my time back on mindless activities or things that we just normally wouldn't have the time to do. Like, let's come up with, I mean, even for the Smartphone Film Academy, I'm like, here's everything that I want to do with the Academy. These are the things that people are going to walk away with. Help me say this in a way that is actually engaging and better than me fumbling through my, words. And it's like, spits out the stuff. I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah, that is, this one's not that. Let me revise that, whatever.
Right.
So creating copy that feels like, that starts with me and that feels like me. For video stuff, I mean, we've 11 Labs is so fun. Don't tell any of my clients this, but some of the VO artists, they were like, hey, do you like Shauna or do you like Bob? And they're like, we actually like Shauna. And I'm like, that was me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like insane what we're able to produce. And, and it's fun. And also like, wait, what the heck? You're able to do that?
Yeah. So the cool thing too, I'm thinking as a creator, Ryan, is like, and Gary and I were talking about this last weekend, that now you can actually, for a YouTube creator, and do your entire like video that you had in another language, and it will sync your mouth to it. Like that is helpful. Like having a whole other market, like that's a big deal.
Insane.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very, very
I
cool.
remember our course creator partner, Susan, she teaches these amazing floral tutorials. And years ago, she was like, hey, I've got a decent following in China. Let's translate all of my courses into Chinese. And we went through, like, it was just a bear. We
Right.
didn't end up doing it because it was just too tough. And to think that today, push of a button and it would match, her mouth would match with all of the things that she said in Chinese or whatever, you pick
Right.
the language. I'm like, that is mind blowing that's a real thing.
Yeah. Huge doors open.
And it stays in your voice, your tonality and all that stuff. It's like, wait, what?
And I did a test with the Japanese thing, and I have a friend who speaks fluent Japanese. He says it's perfect. It's like getting even like local things. I mean, so it's just like, it's crazy. Ralph says, is it, we're showing our age, Ralph. Is it real or is it Memorex? Yes, that's true. Having to figure that out. But you know what is real? Our sponsors, Ecamm. And they both do recording and live video, which is what we're using now. Find out more at ecamm.com/. He's got what is that strange object? It's a tape from my tape player. Look at him. Had one on his desk.
Look at that brand too.
Ryan, Memorex. So he is on point. But if you want to find out more about the amazing sponsors of our show, and with prices rising everywhere, they're keeping them very, very reasonable. You've saved money by going to ecamm.com/Jeff. Save 15% on your first purchase. Thank you for them for sponsoring the show. All right, this last section, I want to talk about this. Actually, Abby is here in the house just in case they come, because I get mine delivered. And I don't want to have to, you got to sign for it, so I don't want to have to go to a trip to the store. So she's there waiting. I don't know if it came or not. So the iPhone 16, Apple Intelligence, we've got about 7 minutes left. Let's kind of jump into this really quick. So what is this new phone, if anything? I mean, we talked about it like it doesn't make you a better storyteller, but there are tools that can help enhance what you're doing. So what are you excited about, Ryan, about the iPhone 16 and the coming AI features as a video creator?
Yeah. A couple of things. I mean, I have a 15 right now. The upgrades are subtle-ish, but to go from I think it's a 12 megapixel camera right now on the iPhone 15 to a 48 megapixel, really pretty awesome. And then to be able to shoot 4K 120 frames per second. Here's what I love. If pulling up your phone and shooting videos, if this is all you're doing, it's not going to help you a ton. If you're using front-facing camera, you would never shoot 120 frames per second. But one of the things that I love doing is we shoot B-roll. So we'll film interviews of people, and having 120 frames per second to do what we would call like a living portrait, and that would be where I would pull out my camera and just like kind of like subtle movements, and you would be standing here and it would kind of be a close-up shot. But we would shoot it in 120 frames per second, and then we would slow that down by 50% or so. And that effect, we would put that, on top of, whatever other B-roll that we're going to cut away to. But that effect, like with some emotional type music, it's really powerful. I mean, to see somebody in slow motion, to see somebody, up close in slow motion, that does something inside of us. And so to be able to do it in slow motion, like in like a higher frame rate, that's what 120 frames per second is. It's a higher frame rate. So there's more frames where you slow stuff out, and it doesn't get like choppy or feel like, I guess that's slow motion, but
Right.
a very smooth slow motion. I'm excited about that. But yeah, otherwise, and there's a dedicated camera button. I don't think we're supposed to call it a shutter button, but to have like one more button that's specific for camera, I think is great. I think definitely with the 15, I don't know with the 14 if it had this, but the action mode is like one of the coolest features on this phone, where if you're outside, if you've got decent lights and you turn on action mode and you hit record, you can be running and hitting bumps or whatever, and then you play that video back and it's just like smooth as butter. You would never know. And there have been like things that you could do in editing software to smooth out, to stabilize images like that, but it's always like look like warbly and just like,
right.
it's something weird there. Now, oh my gosh, it's insane how it can smooth out something that you don't want to be shaky. Sometimes the shaky shot is what you're going after, but a lot of times if you're trying to capture, beautiful landscapes or anything like that, smoother shots are going to feel more cinematic and cooler.
So this is a great question from Katie. She goes, I use my iPhone 6 front camera to shoot my YouTube videos with I'm out and about. Any tips on using the back camera instead of making sure I'm in shot?
Ooh,
that's hard.
The 6, I'm not sure well, I normally would have my Apple Watch on, but I was like, I'm going to be on a show today. I want to be real fancy and wear my Casio, my $20 Casio. But the Apple Watch is so great. If you are a content creator and you're regularly creating videos, having the Apple Watch I think it's a no-brainer, because you can hit the camera thing and it will operate your camera. You can see your frame on your watch. You can hit photo, you can hit video, you can have, if you're doing photos, you can hit delay. So like when we're on vacation, I take my phone, I set it up, I gather everybody, I turn it on, make sure we're all in frame. Like, hey, everybody scoot over this way. Okay, yep, now we're in it. So having your watch, you could be sitting at your desk and
it's a monitor.
The back.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's a monitor.
Yeah, it's a little monitor.
Yeah.
So using it as a monitor is great. If you don't have an Apple Watch or don't have a desire to get one, I use Ecamm. So like right now I've got Ecamm loaded up and I can frame my shots. If I had my camera right in front of me here, and let's just say my monitor's over here, I would frame up and be like, okay, I'm in the middle of the shots. Okay, great. Now, and then I hit record, and then I know I'm just looking at the camera the whole time. And once in a while I'll look over here just to make sure I'm in the frame. So using something like that. There's also like a mirror adapter. I've seen these on Amazon. I should just get one where you can put, it just essentially creates a mirror. It doesn't create it is a mirror, and you can see the image on the backside of the camera, or get a friend or a family member to sit on the other side and monitor, make sure that you're in the frame.
One other thing that I want to do a shout out to my friends at Camo, which is a great app. I bought the lifetime thing of it. one of my big pain points is shooting like Amazon videos, and I use my phone a lot, but having a monitor that I could take with me, and I have an iPad. Camel lets me mirror that onto my iPad. So I don't know why some other apps don't let you do this easily, but I can have it as a second monitor, and I can, just like your watch is a small one, but I have a big iPad that I can use using the Camo thing and record all my stuff that I need. So that's and I think there's a code if you want to use it called, if you use code Big Beard, you save some money. I can't remember how much it is, but anyway, great folks over there. Connor, final question. It's you.
All right. So we've kind of talked today a lot about the balance of creating great stories with really good content and then having good equipment to kind of back it up. This new stuff, the new phones, the new AI, the new Apple intelligence. Ryan, do you think that these new advancements, are they going to level the playing field when it comes to creators? Are they going to make it more competitive? What do you think? Is there got to be this balance of you still really need to make great stories and have great technology?
My
Someone was telling a
Google
story.
just told me it's time for lunch. Quiet down over there. Sorry, I'm a little distracted. Leveling the playing field. I mean, here's what I felt 10 years ago whenever the first iPhone with a camera came out, and I started seeing everybody's posting. I'm like, I don't have this desired drive to share as much anymore because everybody's doing it, and that's not super fun. So I would say that every year and every iteration, like the playing field gets more and more leveled out. But our excuses continue to remain. It's like, wow, they're better at this anyway. They talk better, they look better, they sound better. I don't like how I look or sound on video. There's always going to be those excuses. So my encouragement, level playing field or whatever, like this, people using an iPhone 6, it's like amazing. The best camera is the one that you actually use. So if my whole thing is like, if you're running a business, you need to show up on video, because now you've got an opportunity for people to hear, what you do, how you help people, why you do it 24/7. And with social media to stay top of mind. So using your phone to create content that is designed to connect and engage, build your audience and influence. If you have a message, if you have a product or service, your message is more important than your mug. And any excuse that you have, well, I'll just wait till this. Just start now, and you start getting feedback. Like I said, your first handful of videos they're not going to be good. And hey, you look at your favorite YouTubers and rewind and look at their first video, and you'll be like, oh, okay. Like I don't feel so bad. So just get out there. The world needs what you have to offer.
That is awesome. And speaking of offer, I want to give you the last couple of minutes here to talk about what you got going on, where people can find you, your podcast, all that stuff. So, Ryan, the floor is yours.
Thanks. So the Smartphone Film Academy is the thing I'm excited about a lot of things, but that's one of the things I'm most excited about, launching another cohort soon. So if you're interested in leveling up how you use your phone for photo, but for video, I meant to say video, go to tellstudios.com/academy, sign up for the wait list. And then I've got our gear guide. I've got budget-friendly stuff on there. We've got this amazing studio 15 minutes away from me where we've got like the best stuff. And, for my home studio, I've got some pretty good stuff, but then I'm always buying like little trinkets and things that are super affordable to help people that should be creating, and keep making excuses like, equipment's too expensive. There's so much good stuff out there that is so stinking affordable that can really elevate your game. So sign up for that, and I'll share gear guides and all of the things there. Happy to do that. I hang out on LinkedIn quite a bit for business stuff. So you can just find me, Ryan Koral, on LinkedIn, and whatever, Instagram, Facebook, etc. And then was there one? Oh, the podcast. The podcast is specifically for filmmakers. 8 years ago, I started educating and helping filmmakers of, all these years running a business. I've made a lot of mistakes and I love sharing them, as well as the things that have gone well. So that's called Grow Your Video Business. I bring in a lot of amazing guests that the topics are actually helpful if you're running a business, period. But when I'm talking to you, the listener, I'm just assuming that you're a filmmaker, but you may or may not be. So otherwise, email me if you need anything, Ryan@TellStudios.com. And thank you for having me again on this show. I guess you do kind of like me.
Yeah. Well, you're smart. That's it. That's pretty much why. You're just really smart at filming stuff. So, thanks so much for this today. So many great tips. Connor Brown, where can people find the amazing, unsinkable Connor Brown?
You can head to vacationkingdoms.com or at Vacation Kingdoms across the social medias. I can help you plan your next awesome trip.
Thank you guys so much for today. This has been an amazing show. Ryan, once again, thank you so much for all your knowledge. I can't wait to see what's happening in the Smartphone Film Academy and all the stuff you've got going on. You guys don't forget to visit our sponsors, Ecamm, ecamm.com/Jeff. And also the amazing Entrepreneurs Traveling Circus is starting in Manchester. Katie Simpson is going to be there. You can find out more at jeffc.com/ET Circus. And with that, you guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Abby, Jason, all the people, Cast Ahead at Chris Stone, his company, all the people who showed up today. We thank you guys. Wouldn't be able to do this show without you. And with that, we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.